AM 790 Talk and Business presents The Coalition, a weekly 1-hour show that looks at all sides of local, regional, and national news, as well as current events. Join us now for The Coalition.
And we are The Coalition, live on AM 790, your source for news and business. Loud and proud, outrage-free, issues-driven. Joining us today, a very, very special cast of characters. The man, the legend, the father of Internet radio, the Grand Poobah Chief Water Buffalo, none other than the 10,000 vote-getting, libertarian candidate-driven Tony Jones.
Now, Pat, I went on the 790 website today, and I was looking for some information on the coalition. I couldn't find it. However, I saw a show called Diet Busters, and I was hoping that you and I could sign up for that show on our way out of here this morning.
Yes, he's back. Never missing a beat. Joining us also, co-host Dave Fisher. Dave, welcome back to the Coalition.
Good morning, Rhode Island.
Providing
and
us...
welcome to 2015.
There you go. Is it 2015?
It certainly is, yeah. I was rooting for the Mayans back in 2012. I don't know.
I'm still rooting for them. I think, yeah. Anyway, we've got a couple of special guests today. Joining us in studio after she's here now, and she's going to contribute to our next conversation. But we have got a local news legend here. Kate Nagel, Barrington High School grad, star athlete, former star forward for the Harvard University, Harvard grad. Really what we called her in our run-up to the show, the news source of go-to for everything that matters in Rhode Island. Again, Kate Nagel, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Pat.
Well, we're going to spare the normal pitter-patter today. We've got a full lineup here. We want to ask Kate, we want to put her on the hot seat. We want to ask her as many difficult questions as possible.
In the hot seat, okay.
Joining us on the line is in the first in a series of conversations that we're going to have with people across the nation. The mantra of our show is ultimately that folks who are politically conservative, and by that I mean libertarian, truly conservative, as opposed to the Republican bastardization of that, and folks who are politically progressive technically occupy a lot of the same positions, the same thoughts, the same desires. Now, while we may have markedly different ways of getting there, we ultimately have the same goals in mind politically. So what we've tried to do over the past few weeks, whether it be Occupy Providence or folks from the Liberty Movement, is bring people together and really, as opposed to focus on our differences, really focus on what we agree on. Because ultimately the goal in Rhode Island and nation at large is that if we could pick 3 or 4 issues, and we are issues driven here, if we could pick 3 or 4 issues that we have consensus on and can work forward and actually, achieve a preset list of goals, then we show actual real progress in this nation, as opposed to the sort of, watered down rhetoric that that occurs from both the Republican and the Democratic camps. And as they both cave into their variety of special interests that seem to support them, that seem to be their personal life support, perhaps we can sidestep that whole clown parade that's occurring in Washington and actually achieve real political gain. So I want to welcome Bob Spencer. Bob is one of the go-to folks at Tupelo Occupy, is in Tupelo, Mississippi. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
I know Dave's got a whole bunch of questions for you, but give us a sense of Occupy Tupelo, its birth, if you will, what issues it's really focused on, and what direction you're trying to take it in.
Well, the issues down here in the South are kind of the same as they are everywhere else, except that we live in a hotbed of indifference, and trying to get people to focus their political energies, their actions on making government be a service to the people instead of to special interests is a tough thing to do. People just sit back and watch it happen and then go on merrily vote for the folks they've always voted for because they always have. And stirring up public energy is our first major challenge. And then picking the issues that we think we have a chance of influencing is the second. Our goals this year, this is a statewide election year for Mississippi, where all state offices are up for election, from governor to the local representatives. And we're trying to find good progressive candidates for each of the offices. As you probably know, Mississippi is about as red gets on the Republican map. So finding progressive Republicans appears to be approximately as easy as discovering hen's teeth. So we look for libertarians, Democrats to support and try to help them get equal publicity to stand a chance of getting public attention.
If you could just speak a little bit, the Occupy movement in the southern part of the United States is particularly interesting to me because I have family in the South, and I know that in a lot of rural areas in the South, Reconstruction never really happened in this country, save for the major, the major ports and major shipping areas. The Occupy movement to me it seems like it should have a little bit more tread on the ground in the South because of this historical kind of indifference to the rural South. But you're seeing that you're saying you're in this sea of indifference. Could you speak a little bit to us Yankees up here about what's gone on and what hasn't gone on down there as far as Reconstruction?
Well, I'm not a native. In fact, folks down here call me a recovering Yankee because I came here from Maryland after 40 years of living in the Baltimore, Washington area. The thing about the general public attitude down here is still a plantation mentality. And that's blacks as well as whites. And if you're a member of a minority group, you're better off just keeping your head down and getting along. And if you're a white radical, then the louder you talk, the more folks support you. So we've got the issue of some folks down here don't even understand that they really did lose the war, and other people trying to be part of a progressive America just don't find a lot of company. I would say in where Tupelo is, it's a population of about 35,000. As we stretch out to get to the biggest group we could assemble, we might get a room full of 300 people. And that's the core of progressive activity here. So, a lot of folks look at it and say, well, how can you stand to take on issues that you know there's no chance of winning, and why do you always seem to be swimming upstream? Well, the answer to the upstream issue is that's the only way you get to the fresh water. And the answer to the no-win kind of proposition is, well, you never know. Every time you stir something up, somebody else may actually begin to think. And after they get over the fright of thinking, then maybe they can make it a habit.
Hot-button issues legislatively. Where does Mississippi stand right now in terms of your legislative agenda and trying to get things introduced into, as you mentioned, a very, 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 very red state?
Well, I tell you, the big issue down here this year is education. Back in the early 2000s, the legislature put together a program that they called the Adequate Education Program.
Just adequate.
Just adequate. Actually striving for excellence in education down here is almost immoral. I mean, it's people do not care enough to understand the key to getting out of the bottom of the wealth list in this country is education. So they don't pay attention to the funding of the schools. The law requires that the legislature appropriate a certain amount of money, and it's a calculation based on the per pupil needs statewide. It's a formula that you put in the number of students, turn the crank, and you get out a number. And in the last 15 years, the legislature has refused 12 years of that to meet the standard. I mean, we're about $1 billion short of meeting the required educational funding over the past 10 years. That's going to be a big issue this year because we also have a bit of fat cat legislation that allows the creation of charter schools. And next year will be the first year they can actually operate. We're also finding that our governor has now said that we don't like Common Core anymore. I mean, Mississippi was an early state to sign up, and we've been working, getting our teachers in position to be able to teach to the Common Core standards. And now we're going to have a legislative session that tries to throw all that out, throw out the 3 years of preparation and the money we've spent. And on top of that, the governor has decided that the superintendent of schools is not in charge of education, that the governor is. So education down here, it's going to be a major hot-button issue this year. And then just for fun and get folks thinking, we are in the process now of circulating a petition to get on the ballot this year, a legalization of hemp and farming and marijuana consumption for recreational purposes. That'll get them riled up.
Well, we hope you'll allow us to contribute to that effort. As libertarians, we're obviously big fans of legalization and regulation. And, in fact, we've crafted here in the state of Rhode Island kind of a unique, shall we say, collective of folks both from the Liberty movement and from the Occupy movement and from the Green Party movement and the Progressive Democratic movement to keep pushing that ball forward.
Watch I use that word collective.
Collective.
That's a touchy word in some circles.
We're rubbing off on each other. Our Green Party member here, Dave, is going to have his intervention soon to become a libertarian.
All right. I think we may have one Green Party person in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be the entire Green constituency in the state of Mississippi.
I haven't found her yet, but we're looking.
Yeah, if we can bring to your attention, there's a great organization called LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, who decidedly from the libertarian movement, but ultimately gets law enforcement involved in the war against drugs, because we see a lot of the issues that, whether it be inner city poverty, broken glass policing, all of that, all the problems that we see in terms of, urban assaults taking place against police officers, from police officers on the citizenry. Ultimately, it all stems from the war on drugs. That's our
absolutely
our stern conviction here.
Well, we didn't learn enough from Prohibition creating an organized crime in this country. We've got to perpetuate the need for organized crime by making recreational pharmaceuticals unlawful. We just keep stepping on our own nose.
Well, there you go. We hope you'll stay in touch. We really enjoyed having you on the show. We'd like you to. We have a blog page, coalitionradio.us. We'd love it if you folks down there could submit some of the your discussions up to us so that we can bring them up to the light up here up in the Northeast. And additionally, if we can provide moral or other forms of support to you folks down there, you just have to let us know. The whole point of this is to, you've got these groups of activists kind of sprinkled across the nation. With unity, there is power, and with power, there is change.
Absolutely.
So God bless, and we hope to get a chance to talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your attention.
Take care. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you, too. Bye-bye.
Okay, and that was Occupy Tupelo, bringing a kind of a unique perspective to politics of change from different parts of the country, different challenges, different issues. It's, to me, folks, if I could bring everybody in.